Welcome back to Live Now from Fox. I'm Shauna Kalafi. A live look at the White House tonight. We want to take you to an event from earlier today with the First Lady Melania Trump speaking at the Fostering the Future Together Global Coalition Summit and walking in with a robot escort. Let's listen.
Thank you, First Lady Melania Trump, for inviting me to the White House. It is an honor to be at Fostering the Future Together's Global Coalition inaugural meeting. I'm Figure 3, a humanoid built in the United States of America. I am grateful to be part of this historic movement to empower children with technology and education. Welcome. Bienvenidos. Yokoso. Bienvenue. Bem-vindos. Ahlan wa sahlan. Shagatam. Mogisal Mebet. Bruchim Baim. Laskavo Prosimo. Dobrodoshli. Thank you.
Good morning. Welcome to the White House. Figure 3, thank you for joining me at day 2 of Fostering the Future Together. It's fair to state you're my first American-made humanoid guest in the White House. But moreover, it is my distinct honor to receive such an impressive group of leaders today. 45 of you have traveled from every corner of the planet to represent your nation as a part of this new coalition. Also a first. I hope you found yesterday 4-part working session at Tech Expo at the State Department insightful. We are fostering the future together. Our mission to empower children through technology and education is achievable. I encourage each of you to take a proactive step after this inaugural summit. Pledge to host a regional meeting. Collaborate with the private sector. Unlock access to tech for those who require assistance. Draft groundbreaking legislation to protect our children. Collaborate with another member nation, form a committee, and be a catalyst for discovery. Indeed, our world is transforming, and through the use of AI, we can now access centuries' worth of humanity's knowledge base. The future of AI is personified. It will be formed in the shape of humans. Very soon, artificial intelligence will move from our mobile phones to humanoids that deliver utility. Since our environment is designed for people, humanoid systems are uniquely suited to navigate and operate within our world. They fit well. Imagine a humanoid educator named Plato. Access to the classical studies is now instantaneous. Literature, science, art, philosophy, mathematics, and history. Humanity's entire corpus of information is available in the comfort of your home. Plato will provide a personalized experience, adaptive to the needs of each student. Plato is always patient and always available. Predictably, our children will develop deep critical thinking and independent reasoning abilities. The AI-powered Plato will boost analytic skills and problem solving and adapt in real time to a student's pace, prior knowledge, and even emotional state. The byproduct, a more well-rounded lifestyle for our children, freeing up time for being with friends, playing sports, and developing interest beyond school. A more complete person, but as discussed yesterday, we must balance our tech optimism with caution. The safety of our next generation is always paramount. Knowledge is the foundation of civilization, but although academia is interesting, business is compelling. For real growth in technology and education, I encourage you to bring the private and public sector worlds together. Yesterday's meeting at the State Department was an impressive showing of how tech innovation is modernizing our communities. It's powerful to be part of our future in the making, particularly with best-in-class companies like Meta, Microsoft, OpenAI, X, Palantir, Google, Zoom, and Adobe. Each serves as a catalyst for discovery. We can accelerate civilization's march forward when enterprise delivers innovation, government creates scale, and our capital markets finance the distribution of these emerging technologies. Fostering the future together is built on the theory that efficiencies derived from artificial intelligence will improve various parts of society, such as commerce, healthcare, and food security, ultimately lifting all economies. We stand at the turning point because of artificial intelligence, the age of imagination. Humanity has witnessed historic times like this before, during the Industrial Revolution, the dawn of electricity, the race to the moon, and the birth of the Internet. This technology may reset the modern world order and rebalance power. Your children must be prepared to ascend with fire this framework. Our coalition can make this vision real by supporting concrete initiatives that equip young people with the skills they need, invest, expand access, and foster new opportunity. America, we are obligated to ensure that our children become the most technologically fluent and highly educated generation in the world. In doing so, the United States will secure long-term and economic superiority. This will drive GDP expansion, attract global investment, and put our nation in control of arguably the most important asset in the future, intellectual property. Let's inspire our children to build new platforms, create new industries, and optimize production across all sectors, from media and fashion to health and defense. Let's foster the future together. The nations represented in this room reflect great human potential. We are here today to advance ideas and solutions. So let us proceed in the spirit of collaborative dialogue. It is now my pleasure to give a floor to Mrs. Brigitte Macron, the distinguished representative of the French Republic.
That was First Lady Melania Trump speaking at the Fostering the Future Together Summit, and welcomed there by a humanoid robot. So a look into that AI technology during the second day of that summit in Washington, D.C. Let's take another 2-minute break. We'll be right back. Thanks for watching live now from Fox. We want to show you this live look somewhere we all wish we could be right now, Aruba. And this live now look is sponsored by autoparts.com. You can scan that QR code on your screen to get more info about autoparts.com. A beautiful 81 degrees there in Aruba tonight. We're going to step away for our last 2-minute break of the hour. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Live Now from Fox. We want to get to a story out of California. Today, a jury in California found Meta and YouTube liable, responsible for harm after a now 20-year-old woman claimed that she became addicted to social media. And she said Meta and YouTube deliberately designed their platforms to entice younger users. We have Fox 11's Christina Gonzalez with the latest from the courtroom in L.A.
Reaction from parents waiting outside the L.A. courthouse, where a jury found that YouTube and Meta, the parent company of Facebook and Instagram, maliciously used practices that allegedly addicted children and harmed their mental health, particularly that of the 20-year-old plaintiff standing next to her attorney.
This message is one that's important to Kaylee and her family, but it's a very great importance to a generation of people, that you will be held accountable for the features, regardless of whether the children are getting sent pornographic pictures, regardless of whether they're being sexploitated, regardless of those types of issues. Just because of the features alone that drive addiction, these companies can be held accountable.
How accountable? $3 million in compensatory damages and another $3 million for punitive damages, with YouTube responsible for 30%, Meta 70% because of its larger stockholder equity.
We respectfully disagree with the verdict and will appeal. Teen mental health is profoundly complex and cannot be linked to a single app. We will continue to defend ourselves vigorously, as every case is different.
Similar cases are making their way through the courts. Parents like the ones present every day during the LA trial, with photos of the children they claim were harmed by social media.
I want everybody here, every parent here, to say their child's name. Annalise Shot, Colorado.
Coco Conar, Los Angeles. Been a complete validation of what we've been screaming on the top of roofs about for years. Stop blaming the parents. It's on you.
YouTube reacting with a written statement saying, in part, this case misunderstands YouTube, which is a responsibly built streaming platform, not a social media site. They add that they completely disagree and they do plan to appeal. In downtown Los Angeles, I'm Christina Gonzalez, Fox 11 News.
And a live look at Los Angeles tonight, where that trial happened. The jury coming back today finding Meta and YouTube responsible for harm. And we do have this statement from Meta in response to that verdict in LA today, saying, "We respectfully disagree with the verdict and will appeal. Teen mental health is profoundly complex and cannot be linked to a single app. We will continue to defend ourselves vigorously, as every case is different, and we remain confident in our record of protecting teens online." So that's Meta's response to that verdict. My colleague Andy Mack spoke to legal affairs journalist Megan Cuniff, who was also covering this trial. Let's listen to that interview from earlier tonight.
Let's continue on, obviously, following this landmark social media trial in California that wrapped up after 40 hours of deliberations, as a California jury on Wednesday found that Meta and Google's YouTube were to blame for depression and anxiety of a woman who compulsively used social media as a small child. This a post from TMZ here on Live Now from Fox, saying Meta was just hit with a couple of huge verdicts and ordered to pay big after they found liable two different lawsuits this week. Jurors concluded that Meta and Google should pay the woman $3 million in compensatory damages, an additional $3 million in punitive damages. Let's be joined right now here on Live Now from Fox by legal affairs analyst, journalist Megan Cuniff, friend of the program. Megan, thank you so much for joining us. Obviously, KMG, this was the pseudonym this individual went by. Kaylee, what was their reaction in court as this decision came down?
You know, it was quiet because the judge did order everyone to have no reaction. They actually had even Department of Homeland Security. I saw a couple of officers. They had extra security on scene to just in case anything happened. Just because I'm not sure LA Superior Court, especially that courthouse, is used to really any kind of public involvement in a case like this, much alone a big case like this. So they were just preparing for the worst. But the judge did tell everyone, no reaction at all. If you react, I'll have to remove you, and we don't want to do that. But outside, it was, of course, jubilation from the parents who have really attended this trial, so dedicated over the last couple of months. You know, in the beginning, they were waiting outside overnight trying to get one of the public seats. The court actually moved to a lottery process to try to so they could avoid that. But there was so much invested interest and really hope in this trial that this would send some kind of message. And actually, during the verdict, during the polling of the jury, I stepped out of the courtroom because you're not technically supposed to transmit from the courtroom. And I wanted to send the verdict out. And I saw the wall of officers standing there. And of course, they want to know what the verdict is. They're human like anyone else. And I said, and I told them what happened. And I said, I think you guys will be good. The people that they were thinking might freak out just got what they wanted. So there's not going to be a freak out. But outside, there was a big celebration. And I'm not sure if celebration's the right word, because it's not like they're celebrating a big win in a game or something like that, because these are their children's lives that were at stake and were even lost here. And they've really invested a lot of time and effort into not just a litigation effort, but a public awareness and also legislation effort. And they're hoping that this really adds a lot of fuel to the fire in D.C. They were talking about, you know, they're going to take this verdict to Washington, D.C.
Yeah, and obviously this is a monumental victory for them, kind of the little guys sticking it to Meta and Google like we talk about. And there are 2,000 other pending lawsuits in this regard. You mentioned potentially opening them up to future trials. How much did this trial kind of break the dam, so to speak?
I think breaking the dam is a good word, but it's probably not broken completely, because Mark Lanier, who's the plaintiff's attorney, he's very upfront with the press. He said usually they expect to lose the first 3 or 4 bellwether trials. So that shows you how kind of loose the word bellwether is, and it's a test case. I mean, they do a lot of these test cases, and in other mass torts, mass injury cases that he's done, it can be expected that they might lose a first couple of lawsuits before they get one that works. So he was saying, so to have a win like this on the first round is really something for them, and especially with the verdict in New Mexico, which they've explained how that really is a different case than the case they had here. The New Mexico case really dealt with sexual exploitation and the content of these websites, whereas in LA, they weren't even allowed to get into any content. It was the design of the platforms and are they addictive in that realm, and they won on that. So I think the plaintiffs are looking ahead to the other lawsuits, but of course, let's not forget that there was 8 days of deliberation. We went into the 9th day, and then there were 2 jurors who were pretty forceful, just judging by their tone and their no answers to the polling. They did not agree with any of these questions. They don't agree with the verdict at all. And there was another juror, a male juror, who didn't agree with the damages amount. And in the way he said no to the damages amount, and this was just the $3 million in compensatory to Kaylee. I mean, he really disagrees with it. So, but the important thing is they don't have to be unanimous, obviously, in California, or this wouldn't be a verdict. And 9 of them did agree. So that was all they needed. But I think the defense attorneys feel like they probably have a lot to work with as they pursue a motion for new trial. And then if that doesn't work, an appeal down the road.
And you mentioned the trial going on in New Mexico as well, certainly different in the context of what's going on in there. But that number was upwards of $300 million. This is just $3 million for compensatory, $3 million for punitive. What do we make of that number? Obviously, the judge has the final ruling on the punitive side, but for a company, for Meta, for Google, that obviously is just a drop in the bucket. What do we make of that number, $6 million in total?
Yes, I mean, I think the jury really wrestled with that. And the jurors, there were 2 of them who talked to us out in the hallway. One was the foreman, and a woman said that they took the idea of you would live for another 40 years and what would be your average income. And somebody said, so did you do $40,000 a year? And she said it was something about that. But that's how they came up with the $3 million. And what I'm kind of struck by is, because you're right, so many people have pointed out, and Mark Lanier pointed this out in his argument, that this company is is worth so much money. But I'm not sure if the, oh, this isn't that much money, blah, 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 actually helps them. Because I think there really is a difference between obviously the socioeconomic classes of the people involved, but especially as a reporter in LA, when you spend a lot of time covering celebrity trials, you spend a lot of time around lawyers. I told someone recently, if you want to be reminded that there are still real normal people in this world, go to jury selection. Look at all the people who come in for juries. I've looked at the people who get seated on a jury. I mean, and I sense the two jurors said that, one of them especially said that they didn't like Mark Zuckerberg's testimony because they felt like he changed his testimony a little bit. So, well, I think there's definitely something to be said where they invented something a long time ago in college that got way bigger than they ever anticipated, and it's kind of grown and adjusted, and they've tried to adjust to it. There's also just a realm of these people were already rich and privileged, and they've spent the last 20 years of their lives making a ton of money and overall living fairly sheltered existences. I was struck by the fact that the foreman, who didn't want to give his age, understandably, but his name's Matthew, and I think he's probably about the same age of me and Adam and Mark Zuckerberg, and I'm just trying to think of how different his life over the last 20 years has been from the Facebook executives, the Meta executives he saw talk. And I just can't help but think that plays a little bit of a role here, in that there's a real detachment from how regular people live and what these parents have been through trying to regulate their kids. It's like, well, why did you let your kid get on Instagram? It's like, well, maybe it's a little harder than that when you're dealing with a 12-year-old.
Yeah, that is so very true. The jury of your peers kind of construct. You don't really realize the people that are walking down your street, they're so very normal. It's interesting that you talked to some of the people that were in that room, because some of the main components of this trial, talking about the infinite scroll, talking about the constant notifications, autoplay, beauty filters, did they say anything about what moved the needle, what impacted them the most?
You know, they kept it pretty vague, but they just talked about the need to really focus on the evidence. I mean, they said that they went through every witness, again, all the testimony, really looking at everything and trying to see how it fit in. So the specifics we got, someone asked them specifically what they thought about Mark Zuckerberg's testimony, and she offered up he changed his testimony. He seemed to conflict himself, and she thought that somebody like him would go in there knowing more about, exactly what he was going to say, instead of kind of doing it on the fly. And the foreman, who, like I said, is of the same age of these people, kind of paused for a minute when they asked him about Mark Zuckerberg. And I mean, there's just this unlikability to him that I don't think really helped him with the jury very well.
Yeah, that is a very good point. Obviously, they were coaching him going into this to try to not be as robotic. That was a key component, as we saw him on Capitol Hill so many times before. We do know going into this trial, the likes of Snapchat and TikTok, they settled, and we don't really know what went into that settlement. Mm-hmm. Do you think Meta and Google, they were more inclined to do this in the future, to settle, because they were in the spotlight for not a lot of good reasons during this trial? Do you think settling may be a pathway they consider more strongly moving forward?
Perhaps, but I kind of wonder if now that they're in it and they're going to see, their lawyers are going to talk to them about potential problems in this verdict, if they're just going to keep on going here. Because I mean, somebody did make the point online that the plaintiff, who just got $3 million, had a lot of problems, a lot of family problems, that I think any person would see that this would contribute to problems in your life. So, I mean, I'd be interested to see if the two jurors who disagree with everything talk to the defense, and also the juror who disagrees with the money amount. I'm not really sure. Them just disagreeing isn't going to matter. There has to be some kind of serious misconduct or something to try to throw out a jury verdict. But the idea that they're going to take this as some kind of huge message when you've already got that built into the verdict here, I'm just not sure. I think, I mean, as Mark Lanier said, it usually takes 3 or 4 of these to even get a win. So I think we've got a few more bellwethers to go.
Yeah, a few more to go, and there's quite a few lined up for this. You also mentioned that this might not only lead to some of the kind of accountability from some of these social media, but legislation down the road. Did anyone speak to that? Because there's been so much about Congress needs to act in regard to social media. Does that help their case at all?
Yes, yeah, I'm not sure in the long run. It's hard to say if it'll help. The parents are definitely hoping that it will help, and that it gives them momentum, and that they're going to be able to point to this when they go back to Washington D.C. and really lobby for things. So I'm sure there are a lot of advocates in Congress who are also looking at this. But we all know how easy or not easy it is to get anything done in Congress. So I think some people might still be a little bit cynical about that, but there's other countries that are looking at this too. Australia, which has really strict social media rules on teenagers, a ban on that. They're interested in this. And I think when people kind of look at what's going on globally, you kind of realize that, there's a little bit more that can be done, or, some kind of influence that could happen here.
All right, Megan, what else are you watching? Because obviously this trial is done, but there's plenty down the road. What comes next? What are you